Hey guys, I have a ton of single issues to talk about. I catched up on my reading in the past few weeks. Also, some books that I finished a while ago, but I haven't talked about. I did this special on DC Rebirth, um, which a lot of people have seen. Not many commented on it. A few dislikes, which is a bit unusual, but I get why. It's very divisive to talk about such a popular line of books, especially if you're like me now. I'm not super psyched about it anymore, and I get that people don't wanna tune in to this. Well, I wouldn't say negative, but more like critical thing. And I would say, just if you enjoy it, just keep reading it and enjoy it. I don't mind. In fact, I will start with a few DC Rebirth books. So first we have Aquaman, which I told you I enjoy. It's by Dan Abnett and Scott Eaton, and it's the first installment of a new arc. I mean, you probably know the art by now. You also know the really, really unnerving ads. It's really full of ads. This is really bothering me, and I never saw so many ads in a modern day comic. Look at this. Every second page is an ad, and this is not nice for the reading experience. But I don't think it's that was the problem with this issue. It's just that it wasn't very spectacular, and that I feel that a lot of those DC Rebirth stories make very small steps. So yes, you have 6 issues in a month, in 3 months, but you also have like the amount of story that you would get out of 3 regular issues. It's not a bashing, but if this doesn't grab me in the next with the next few issues, I might be out of it. Same with Batman. I didn't like the crossover, the Monster Man. It sold very well, I saw, but nobody really loved it. And I think it's a bit too early into the run to have a crossover going on. Other than that, it feels more like a Detective Comics story, because it's the cast of Detective Comics, which is heavily featured in here. And it's not the regular artist. It feels like a distraction from what Tom King was starting. And now I'm not sure if it really was an intention at all. And Tom King, I will give him another 2 issues. We're at number 8 now. If with number 10 I'm not really sold on it, I might drop that too. But it's not all bad, because I really enjoyed Death of Hawkman, featuring Adam Strange, which is kind of funny because basically it's just like Adam Strange featuring a little bit of Hawkman in this comic. Didn't know much about Adam Strange. Looks like a funny retro sci-fi hero to me. Archaeologist by day, and when the calling arrives, he's off to faraway planets and saving the universe. And it was fun. Less ads in it, a bit less, and more story pages. It's a $4 book, but the pages are much thicker and it's much better quality. And also story-wise, this was a perfect introduction. This is how it's supposed to be done, Sure, cater to the old fans, but also try to introduce your concepts to new ones. I think this was a success, and I will gladly pick up the 2nd issue. Midnighter and Apollo, by Steve Orlando. He's just continuing his run he had at DC with the Midnighter. He used to be a controversial character. I don't think he's that controversial anymore. So yes, he's homosexual. Yes, he's very violent. So what? And look at this. It's really perfectly told in the sequence. This is an action book, basically, but with a very personal approach towards the hero and his private life. And I think it's a successful book. Steve Orlando obviously can write really well. I'm not super intrigued by the story yet, but I might pick this up and trade. It's a mini-series, so this will be a finite story by the 6th issue, and I might well pick up the trade. Let's continue with a few image books. We have here SurgeonX #1, which is written by Sarah Kenny, who's a newcomer, drawn by John Watkins, who did a few Sandman issues and sporadically just worked for Vertigo, from whom you might know the name Karen Berger from. Karen Berger, who's a hero of mine. She's probably the best editor in the history of comics because she imported all the important writers of the so-called British invasion during the late 80s, early 90s into the American comic industry. Names like Grant Morrison, Peter Milligan, Matt Wagner, Alan Moore. I'm not sure if it was her initiative or if this started before she arrived at DC. Anyways, she's really mainly responsible for what later became Vertigo, which is mainly responsible that I'm still reading comics today. So my expectations were very high, and of course it's hard to live up to very high expectations when you're a newcomer. I think it's the premise of the book is very interesting. It's not a big spoiler when I say what it's about because it's everywhere in the PR for the book. Yeah, in a world at the brink of a medical collapse, healing just got sicker. So it's about a woman who has her independent medical treatment facility or joint, and it's a world where antibiotics don't work anymore, not that like they used to. And if you will read up a little bit on the topic of antibiotics, it's really frightening because if they will stop to work, civilization will fall back into dark times. And this is what she's describing here. She's describing a very torn United Kingdom with a right-wing government, and basically not that far away from the mood that we have here over in Europe. There are a lot of crises in the European Union. We have the migrant crisis coming from the outside of the Union. We have divisive parties and politicians and societies who are split right in the middle, which is not a very crazy thing in the States because it used to be in the States like this for the last at least 10, 15, 20 years. But now it's starting in Europe too, and I think this is what this is dealing with basically. My problem that I have is that it's really spilled out very offensively, like it's quite didactic, and I get who's supposed to be the good one and who's supposed to be the bad one. Maybe this gets twisted somehow. Right now, it feels political, but not in a good way, but more like in a preachy way. But I will definitely get the trade. I don't think I need this on a monthly basis, but I will definitely give it another shot in the trade. All right, Symmetry #7. This is picking up pace now. This is the second act of a very interesting high concept sci-fi story by Matt Hawkins and Raphael Yanko for Top Cow Comics. I talked a bit about this series, so I would just say that I'm still enjoying it. It's really interesting where this is going. We have your Frostbite by Vertigo. It's the #1 by Joshua Williamson, who's now exclusive with DC, so he's also releasing his new creator-owned stuff through Vertigo. Unfortunately, this wasn't a very successful #1, in my opinion. It's very, a lot of information is introduced in this issue. People are talking a lot about what happened before and the backstory and the world we're in, and it doesn't feel very natural. But I would forgive it if it's somehow interesting, but it isn't. The art is really good, though, so I don't know. You might like it more than I do. I just didn't connect to this whole thing, and I'm a bit. I'm becoming a bit wary of books who are building too much in order to just tell a good story, and this is just world building, and I will skip the next issue. We have here Eden's Fall #1 and 2, which is an interesting concept by Top Cow Comics. They linked a few of their independently existing stories. It's Postal, it's Think Tank, and it's the TIFF. So 3 series interconnected in a crossover event, which sounds pretty stupid, but surprisingly it works out really well, and I really liked it. It's really good. We have here Mechanism by Raphael Yanko. Yes, it looks very much like Symmetry because this is the artist of Symmetry, but a more controlled, how should I put it, graphical interpretation of the story. So what I'm trying to say is this is how every splash page looks like. So he's working in this widescreen format, and I get what he's trying to achieve with it. So we should have like this very cinematic feel, but it feels quite stiff through that and a bit lifeless. And I have to say, also the coloring, it's so similar to Symmetry. And then there is also there are a few links story-wise to Symmetry that I'm feeling like buying 2 stories at the same time from the same artists, but one is just better than the other, and unfortunately it's not Mechanism. So I'm out on that. Black Hammer #3 was very good. I think this is really a great book by Jeff Lemire and Dan Ormston. I've read it a few weeks ago, back when it came out, so I forgot the exact story, but basically, oh yeah, now I remember. Yeah, they're introducing with every issue they're doing like a spotlight on one of the characters. Those are retired, or we don't know why they are in this place. They are superheroes who are like living in this house, and are they retired? Did they have to flee from their planet or from their times, from their reality? So there is a trauma here, but we still don't know what the trauma is. Everyone's trying to deal with being away from home in their way, and it's a fantastic, really good series. The best thing that Jeff Lemire has written in a long time, in my opinion. We have here Eclipse number... no, sorry, this was Mechanism and just a ad for Eclipse, but I have somewhere here Eclipse #2. which was, it's here, which was, I talked about number 1, that it really pulled me into it, and it was a really interesting story. Number 2 is a bit more generic, and you know, of course, it's I think it's a debut. Zach Kaplan, at least I didn't know the writer, and I imagine that he, you know, worked on the first issue very hard, and it was a very polished effort. And the second one, not so much. The dialogue felt a bit stiff. Even the art was more amateurish than in the first issue. It wasn't bad, so I will stick with it. But yeah, I really need issue number 3 to be better, closer to number 1 than what number 2 was. All right, let's continue with the Vision, number 11. Everything was said about the Vision, and it continues to be like this very weird little book that Marvel is publishing, and we know that it's gonna end with the next issue. So it's the downfall has started, and the drama is developing here, and it's a great read, like always. I have to say though that you know, by now I've read a lot of Tom King, and I kind of know you know, where the next beat is coming from, so I'm not that surprised anymore. But this is the problem when you're a good writer, that you constantly have to reinvent yourself to surprise your readers. But this is like just a slight, not even criticism, it's just that I'm not as blown away by it as I was in the first half of the series. All right, I have here a few books by Valiant, which yeah, I like Valiant. I always check out their new stuff. This is like just stuff that wrapped up 4001 AD, quite an anticlimactic finale. I wasn't very impressed by it. It was more like an epilogue to something that was already finished. So in general, I can't really recommend to get this in trade. It wasn't that important. Rye, on the other hand, the mothership of this Valiant future, is a very good series right now, and I can recommend it. It's by Matt Kindt and Cafu, and I really hope that Cafu stays on the main title, because the main artist, Clayton Crane, moved over to the event comic, but I really enjoy Cafu much more as an artist, and it's a really nice series, done in one. You know, it's just one series in the future of Valiant in the year 4001, and you don't need to read 10 other titles to get the full picture. XO Manowar number 50, I just got it because, you know, it's an anniversary issue. I have to say, I never could get into Robert Venditti's writing. I tried hard a few times to get on board with XO, but I couldn't, and unfortunately this was no exception. If you're not familiar with XO, just wait for the relaunch, which is obviously happening. XO is their most well-known character, at least in the comics world. So this is coming for sure for the next year, and you really don't need this anniversary issue. We have here Generation Zero number 2, a very successful launch in my opinion, by Fred Van Lente and Francis Portela. So I really enjoyed number 1, and number 2 keeps up the teen angst. You know, it's a small village where weird shit is happening, and so Generation Zero, this group of young superheroes, is called by a girl, the daughter of the local policeman, to investigate, and it's a very cool read. The art is nice. This is how you should do, you know, a bunch of millennials in a comic. It doesn't feel forced, and yeah, it's really cool. You should check it out. It's, for me, it's like the strongest new ongoing from Valiant Comics. We have your Bloodshot number 16 and 17. I had to catch up on this, which was fun. It's cool. It will end with 18, and then it will move into a miniseries of sorts, where those nanites, you know, those little subatomic particles that make Bloodshot who he is, become a virus, become something like, yeah, an infection, and there is a big event around that. I think it's called Bloodshot, something with killing in New York, or Bloodshot USA. No, it's not New York, it's Bloodshot USA. So if you're into intelligent action comics, this might be something for you. The strongest Valiant book in years, I think, though wasn't a superhero comic. It's, I don't even know how to classify it. Britannia by Peter Milligan and Juan Jose Ripe. It was a fantastic read, very engaging from the first few pages. I really liked the overall design. This is like this premium sorts of miniseries that Valiant is doing. So cardboard cover, and it looks really nice. And so Peter Milligan is introducing us to the concept of what are they called? This cult of women priests, Vestal Virgins they're called. And so you get a little introduction into the concept, the historical background, and then the story starts. So you're instantly in the story, and you don't need like info dump here, info dump there. It's a very good idea to do it like that. And the story is really cool. It's basically a horror book set in Roman times, and it's fantastic. It's just really, really good. Reads much more like a book from Avatar or from Image. It has nothing super heroic about it yet, and like I said, maximum possible recommendation. This is a really great book. All right, still a few to go, but I will hurry up. Saint Gent, this is by Hermes Press, which is a very small publisher. They're doing normally collections of new series of the Phantom, but also like archival collections of classic runs. And this is I will show you a little bit of the art. This is a sci-fi with a twist kind of book, and I won't spoil it for you. I will just say it's not super innovative. So it's a person who has like those dreams, and then he finds out that those dreams have a much greater meaning than being just random dreams. But what the twist is, I won't spoil for you. It's on the very last pages, so it's part of the package. I enjoyed it. It's a good read. It could also be like a comic from Boom Comics or Image Comics. Maybe not quite Image, but it's a good Boom comic or Arnie comic. And I was surprised about the level of professionality which went into it. It's very, very capable. And if you're into Philip K. Dickish kind of sci-fi, this might be interesting for you. All right, we have Shipwreck. Well, I'm pretty torn about it. No, I'm not really torn. I'm maybe in the way that I wanted to like it, but I couldn't. So this is written by Warren Ellis and drawn by Phil Hester. It's it starts out quite promising, So it's evident that it's not a common whatever book. The first 5 pages are silent, so we're invited to get into the mindset of this very special book, which is heavily relying on symbols and on the notion that we, as well as the protagonist, don't know what's going on. We're thrown in between realities and situations and have to make the connections, you know, to connect the dots, and we're looking for hints. And I get that early on, but I just feel that either the script or the art or both are not a good fit for what he's trying to do here, Warren Ellis is trying to do here. And the dialogue and the narrative bits feel a little bit disjointed. It's more like, you know, looking through old notebooks of Warren Ellis and picking up stuff and just throw it into a book and have a loose concept built around it. Also, the Phil Hester art, I quite enjoy Phil Hester art normally, but here it's not expressionist enough and it's not surreal enough. So we have a fairly, how should I put it, normal looking book, normal colored book, which doesn't evoke this feeling of otherness or strangeness that would be really important to get into this state of mind in order to enjoy the comic. Okay, I hope you can make some sense out of my babbling here. Yeah, I was a bit frustrated and I won't come back for number 2. I'm sorry. Moonshine, I'm sorry, by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso. It's new number 1 from Image, $2.99. And yes, it's the same team that bought you 100 Bullets, which I didn't read enough of to have an opinion on. But I really enjoyed this number 1. It's super well written, and it's also portraying a time in America, the time of Prohibition, that I don't know much about, and I will definitely get this, but probably not on a monthly basis. It's a comic that I think will read perfectly in trades, and I don't necessarily need to buy this on a monthly basis, but it was very good. Green Alley by Max Landis and Skybound Comics / Image Comics. It's a new number 1, $2.99. Did I enjoy it? I don't know, like a little bit. I think the writing of Max Landis is not exactly my kind of writing, and the art by Giuseppe Camuncoli, it's a bit too much on the, children's book kind of side of things. So yeah, I wasn't very psyched about this. It's a story about 4 knights and the bad stuff that is happening to them. But yeah, I couldn't connect with it. I'm not a big fan of fantasy, but I really like stuff when it's good, well written, like Lake of Fire, which is also about knights, but it's just much more fun. It's a not a high concept book, but it's a crazy concept book because it pairs the Middle Ages with sci-fi, and I was blown away by the first issue. The second issue was still pretty good, and I love the art. And yeah, it has a great. It is really fast paced and a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it. Cannibal number 1 by Brian Buccellato and Young. What's the first name of Jay Young? Oh no, Jay Young and Brian Buccellato are the storytellers, and the art is by Matias Bergara. The art is decent. It's good stuff. It's a decent debut, image debut, and yeah, the title kind of gives